Did you hear that I'm out here with, did you hear where I'm at and everything?
I don't know. Should we say it?
I think that'll, well, I don't know. Maybe not. But they've got me a good place to stay that's very private.
Oh, praise the Lord. I'm happy about that.
So,
I was hoping.
yeah, and they're taking.
Well, just.
So you're doing okay?
I'm trying to keep my spirits up.
Kendra Duggar was not just hiding from investigators, she was hiding at Joy Duggar's house with her kids, while the entire Duggar family ran a coordinated effort to obstruct a Child Protective Services investigation and prevent law enforcement from gaining access to those children. And this story goes so much deeper than what has been reported publicly because sources with direct knowledge of what happened inside that family last week have come forward with details that paint a picture of a family that is not just in denial, but is actively working together to protect Joseph Duggar at the expense of everyone around them, including the children at the center of this case. So let me walk you through everything from the beginning, because there are a lot of moving pieces here, and every single one of them matters. When Joseph Duggar was arrested on March 18th after confessing to the father of the 9-year-old victim, and then being recorded on a phone call confirming that confession, Arkansas law immediately triggered a mandatory secondary investigation into the home where Joseph and Kendra's children live, meaning DCFS and law enforcement had a legal obligation to go into that house, look at the conditions inside, and make direct contact with those 4 children to assess their safety. And what happened next is where this story takes a turn that nobody was fully reporting on until now. Investigators were able to get into the house. They were able to look around, and they found things inside that home that were concerning enough to open charges against both parents. But what they were not able to do was make contact with the children because the children were not there. And Kendra was not making it easy for anyone to find them or talk to them. And rather than cooperating with a mandatory child welfare investigation, she did the exact opposite and took the kids and went to stay with Joy and Austin Forsyth at their home in Fayetteville. Now here is how we know all of this. Last week there was a wedding within the broader Duggar family circle. A friend of the family from their IBLP connected community was getting married and multiple Duggar family members attended. And at that wedding, family members were openly talking about what was happening, telling people that Kendra was safe, that she was staying with Joy and Austin, that everything was fine, and critically, that the kids were not with the family at all. Meaning the Duggars themselves were confirming at this social event that Kendra's children were not in Duggar custody, which tells you that by that point, the children had already been taken into protective custody by DCFS. And while all of that was happening behind the scenes, Joy Duggar posted a public statement on social media saying that the details that had come out about her brother were deeply disturbing, that she was praying for the young girl involved, and then announced she was taking a break from social media to spend time with her family. And what she did not tell anyone is that the reason she was taking that break is because Kendra Duggar was living in her house. Now, I want to talk about Joy specifically for a moment because I think this is really important, and I say this with genuine disappointment. Joy is not a teenager. She is 27 years old. She's a married woman with 3 children of her own. Her husband, Austin, is 32 years old. They have their own home. They have their own life. And there is absolutely no reason in the world why Joy Duggar had to take Kendra into her house other than the fact that Jim Bob Duggar told her to. Because that is how everything works in this family. Jim Bob identifies a problem. Jim Bob assigns one of his daughters to solve it. And the daughters comply because if they do not comply, they lose access to everything. The family resources, the real estate contacts, the business connections, the church community, the financial support, all of it disappears the moment you step out of line with Jim Bob Duggar. And Austin Forsyth is not in a position to push back on that, even if he wanted to, because Austin's entire construction business runs on Jim Bob's contacts, Jim Bob's lawyers, Jim Bob's realtor connections, Jim Bob's relationships with zoning boards and permit offices across Northwest Arkansas. Austin Forsyth's professional success is built entirely on the foundation of his relationship with Jim Bob Duggar. And that means Joy goes where Jim Bob points her and Austin follows along because he cannot afford not to. But here is what makes this genuinely alarming beyond just the family politics. Joy and Austin Forsyth are not exactly strangers to criticism when it comes to their own parenting practices. Because over the years, there have been multiple documented concerns raised about their household, including locking their son Gideon in his room with an exterior lock, which is the exact same thing that Kendra and Joseph are charged with doing to their children, as well as unsecured weapons accessible to children in their home, which under Arkansas law is 100% child endangerment. Children riding ATVs without helmets, children walking through active construction areas without shoes, and a pattern of parenting choices that have raised serious red flags with people who have been paying attention. And now Joy and Austin have taken into their home a woman who is under active DCFS investigation for child endangerment and false imprisonment. And in doing so, they have essentially rolled out a welcome mat for CPS to take a closer look at their own household. Because when you are housing someone who is the subject of an active child welfare investigation, and you are doing it while simultaneously trying to help that person avoid law enforcement contact, you are placing yourself directly in the crosshairs of that investigation, whether you realize it or not. And now let me tell you what actually happened on the day that Kendra was arrested, because this is the part that reveals just how coordinated and deliberate the obstruction was. Sources say that it was allegedly prearranged for Kendra to meet investigators at the Duggar family compound, the big house, where they were going to serve her arrest warrant, and Kendra agreed to that arrangement and then simply did not show up. She was at Joy's house with the kids, and when law enforcement showed up at the Duggar compound, they were told Kendra was not there, which they already knew because she was hiding at Joy's house across town. And here is where Michelle Duggar comes into this picture in a way that suddenly makes a lot more sense. That video that went viral of Michelle Duggar confronting a paparazzo outside what people assumed was the Duggar compound was not at the Duggar compound at all, because property records confirm that Joy and Austin purchased their Fayetteville home in August. It is a 4.5-acre property that has been remodeled. It sits on a regular public street with other houses around it. It is in the city of Fayetteville, not on a private road, and the address matches exactly where Michelle Duggar was filmed running from the driveway onto a public street to confront that photographer. Meaning Michelle Duggar was at Joy's house, where Kendra was hiding. And when the photographer started asking her about her daughter's arrest, Michelle panicked because at that moment, she was potentially trying to protect those children from DCFS investigators who were actively trying to gain access to them. So what you have is Michelle Duggar, Joy Duggar, Austin Forsyth, and the broader Duggar family all working together in a coordinated effort to hide Kendra, hide the children, avoid law enforcement, obstruct a mandatory child protective services investigation, and buy time for the family to figure out their next move. And the only reason any of it unraveled is because local news outlets from KNWA were camped outside the Duggar compound with cameras rolling when investigators showed up with warrants, making it impossible for the family to continue pretending they were cooperating. And only once it became publicly visible that they were not cooperating did they begrudgingly drive Kendra to the Washington County Detention Center to turn herself in, at which point DCFS was finally able to take custody of those 4 children. 2 full days of coordinated obstruction, and it took a news camera to force their hand. Now, there is something else in this story that I need to address because it reveals the deeper rot at the center of all of this. And that is the question of what the Duggar family is actually telling people about Joseph. Because sources who were at that wedding last week say that the family is not just rallying around Kendra, they are rallying around Joseph too. They fully support Joseph. And the only reason they are supporting Kendra is because Kendra is staying with Joseph. Meaning the Duggar family's support for Kendra is entirely conditional on her remaining married to a man who has confessed to sexually assaulting a 9-year-old child. The moment Kendra separates from Joseph, she loses every single bit of support from that family. They will cut her off, they will not house her, they will not give her resources, they will not do a single thing for her because their loyalty is to Joseph and to the family system that protects Joseph, not to Kendra as a person, and certainly not to the children whose safety should be the only thing that matters right now. And I want to be very direct about what this means for Joy specifically, because Joy Duggar is herself a victim of what her brother Josh did to her when they were children. And the fact that she is now actively helping the wife of another brother who has confessed to committing the same category of crime against a child, and doing so in a way that helped obstruct the investigation meant to protect that child, is not just a bad look. It is a profound and heartbreaking betrayal of every victim in that family's history, and a demonstration of exactly how deep the cult programming runs. Because Jim Bob Duggar has his daughters so completely under his control that even women who were themselves victimized as children will turn around and protect their perpetrator brothers, because that is what the family system demands of them. And I say this as someone who has walked in those shoes personally, because my husband has a sibling who is a sex offender who hurt a child, and the decision our family made was immediate and non-negotiable. We cut that person off completely. We do not speak to them. We do not communicate with them. We stand with their victim who we love, and we have never once helped them in any capacity and never will, because that is what it actually means to stand with victims. You make the hard choice. You accept the division it causes. You absorb the anger from people in the family who want you to be quiet, and you put the safety of children above the comfort of your family relationships. And Joy Duggar has the capacity to make that choice, but she is not making it. And the reason she is not making it is because her entire life, her home, her husband's business, her church community, her social circle, her financial security is built on a foundation that Jim Bob controls, and choosing victims over family would mean losing all of it. Now on the legal front, Joseph Duggar has been transferred and is on his way to Bay County, Florida to face his charges there. And given that he is facing a life felony, it is expected that he will be held on no bond. And once he arrives and is booked, he will have the right to request a detention hearing, which must be scheduled within 5 days of that request. So the coming week is going to be extremely active on the legal front, with an arraignment expected shortly after his arrival and booking in Florida. Kendra, meanwhile, remains in Arkansas, has been released after booking, and is reportedly back at Joy's house, still not at her own home, still under Joy and Austin's roof, still being managed and directed by Jim Bob Duggar's invisible hand, while her 4 children remain in protective custody, and the DCFS investigation into her own conduct continues to move forward. And here is the bottom line of everything. This family is not in crisis mode. This family is in cover-up mode. There is a 9-year-old child whose life has been shattered. There are 4 children who have been removed from their home. There is a mandatory investigation actively underway. And instead of cooperating, instead of prioritizing those kids, instead of doing a single thing that reflects genuine accountability or remorse, the Duggar family spent 2 days hiding a criminal defendant from law enforcement, obstructing a Child Protective Services investigation, and rallying their entire network around a man who confessed to sexually assaulting a child. And Joy Duggar, who has her own brands and her own platform and her own public image to protect, is right in the middle of all of it, hosting the person at the center of the investigation in her own home while her children play in the next room. That is where this family is right now. And until someone in that family makes a different choice, a genuinely courageous choice to put children first, to cooperate with investigators, to stand with victims instead of perpetrators, this cycle is going to keep going. It is going to keep producing the same outcomes, and more children are going to be hurt. Justice for that 9-year-old little girl is the only thing that should matter right now, and it is the one thing this entire family seems determined to avoid.